Of course, 99% of players are not going to play like how I play. I am the anomaly. I am the strange one here. But this is why I want to talk about the limitations of design as we enter into the Malum district. I really like this zone, for a few reasons, but it must be said, the bear traps are so fucking cheesy, and the obsession with having people throw things at you while you're trying to do stuff is not my favourite design. Luckily, I then played Lords of the Fallen and was introduced to the crossbowmen and that pilgrim that fires magic spells at you from 900 metres away at all possible moments when you're climbing ladders, and it makes this game look like a breath of fresh air in that regard. But the problem when you have 1/4 of your options on a character that the player's going to use is that you don't give a player such as myself anything to engage with. There could have been armour that wasn't very good that made me faster, or made my weight better, or made my fable come back faster. There could have been so many things that I could have got as a reward for giving up the most precious thing in these games. You talk to a player who's platinumed a Souls game, and they will tell you HP is the most important stat, and armour, and defence. Because they play the game from a defensive perspective, because it's the easiest way to survive. The amount of times I get comments on my videos about, oh, complained that he died, didn't even level his life up. If I had $1 for every time someone said something like that to me, I'd be rich. But here's the reason it happens, and it continues to happen to this day. The first one is, you never get the full context of why I'm bitching about dying. If you'd been there on those streams, as many have, you know what that ordeal is. You know the misery that that's been. You know what's led to that moment. At that moment, Jesus could come down and resurrect every relative I've lost who I've ever loved, and I'd call him a cunt, because I'm irritated and I'm in a bad place. That's just part of the journey, right? The second thing, the more important thing, is that if I were to be in a situation where I take the average Redditor and myself, and the aliens come to our planet, and they say, everyone on Earth will die unless you play Lies of P under these restrictions, I can do it. Captain Johnny, I leveled HP and nothing else, this game is easy on Reddit, can't. And that's the meaningful part of this interaction. I will die more times than you in this game, but I will learn far more than you ever do. And then the next time, I won't die as much. And this is the thing that I want to really push in this walkthrough. If you just hungry hippos your way through resistance, if you get that square peg and you put it in that triangle hole, you will live your life believing squares can be triangles. And in video game mechanics, it's not always the case. And just imagine, guys, right? Imagine the Scrapped Watchmen. Imagine your family have guns to their heads. You have to beat the Scrapped Watchmen at the start of Lies of P. No leveling, no parrying, no upgrading. Can you do it? Can you do it in less than 5 attempts? Imagine, you get 5 attempts. On that 5th attempt, they shoot your family. Can you do it? Can you save the people who mean the most to you? Because I know Fighting Cowboy can't. Can you? Because I can. And the reason I can do that is because I love this game. And I respect this game enough to spend my time playing it. And to play it to a point where I know so much about so many things that give me such an advantage. And this is not Chris Strokes himself off the video, there's no need for that. I just want to try to get through to some of these fucking, like, Reddit birth bath mongoloids that are all saying this nonsense, then they're all believing it because they're all fucking terrible. And they're all running around at max level talking about how they conquered the game because they got a fucking platinum. And they know nothing about what they're doing. Nothing. It's meaningless. You learned nothing. And I'm not saying that learning how to play Lies of P is the most important thing in the world, but the philosophy of it is. John Wick 4 came out this year, and there's a piece of philosophy in that the director parroted while he was making those movies. And it's something that stuck with me because I think it's a beautiful way to view the world, and it's very true. How you do anything is how you do everything. And if you do things in the laziest way it can be done, you are going to live a vastly unfulfilling life. And I just don't understand why anybody would squander the virtues that you learn by doing something hard. And then the worst part is, instead of learning these lessons and using it in life when life gets hard, using the strength, the fortitude, the integrity that you've learned from something completely innocuous, instead you just bitch and whine. You all get together like a chorus of fucking owls and you hoot your way into oblivion hoping that they make the parry wider, when the parry was never the problem. You were. And I do think that there are problems with this game that we can all agree exist. I do think this game is overly punishing. I do think this game is too hard. I do think that there are several limitations that we can all agree upon, and I think we can get there in a reasonable way. But there is so much fucking nonsense right now surrounding this game that it terrifies me because the developers are probably going to listen to it. And I'm not saying that they should listen to me. They shouldn't listen to me. I am anomalous. I'm on the fringe. You can't design your game around me, because if you do, no one can play it. Because only the 0.01% of players can even become close to embracing it. Oh, right here, by the way, this trap populates beneath where you are. Doesn't matter what you do right there, it will always land beneath you. And because it's a one and done kind of situation, I haven't tried to see if you can parry it or actually avoid it, but it does tag you right there, and it's meant to be a little joke from the boss that's coming up in a moment. And some people who've never applied themselves and see no value in video games and would just immediately do the obligatory response of, oh, it's just a game, what are you getting so, excited about, why are you crying about it? You hear that a lot, don't you? Why are you crying? There are many reasons to cry in life, and it'll find you sooner or later, and then you'll know why those tears exist. But people like to devalue things that you value to make themselves feel better. Intrinsically, nothing has value. At all. Everything we do in life is pointless. We're here to die. That's it. But that doesn't mean we have to be miserable nihilists. And the best thing to do here, guys, once you get past the spiking carcass, come over here, open the door, then you've got a shortcut back to this encounter should he hit you, and this is one of those enemies that hits you really easily. I also recommend going back to the hotel as much as possible to get all the resources you can. I've called it the spear arm carcass. This one is not too tanky. I think this is the kind of HP all of the carcasses should have. And if that means making them respawn like this one does, I'd have no problems with it. Because hitting that guy for under 3,000 damage feels about right when you get here. Hitting anything for over 4/5 always feels like they're just unnecessarily tanky. And this room here is a little bit mean, and it isolates one of the problems Lies of P has, which is the enemies have this ability to know where you are without being in a reasonable distance from you. If you stand on that balcony for a couple of seconds, everybody in the room pretty much decides to start walking towards you and comes up the stairs. And it feels like a chain pull, and it feels really unnecessary. I don't know why they do it personally, but there are many areas that do. We do have a little bit of an advantage, though, in the fact that the design of most of the game is good enough that it doesn't become much of an issue. Later on, when the enemies get more ubiquitous, it becomes a huge issue. And towards the end of the game, it just goes off a cliff. But right here, I'm going backwards because I want to fight that monster I didn't kill. I'm going to go back and fight the carcass, the guy who likes to charge. And I'm going to... I say charge, this is the spinner. And I'm going to show you how you can manipulate this monster to have an easier time. This monster has a lot of moves, which is quite cool, but they put him in this area with all the gunkers. And if you don't kill the gunkers, this becomes a bit of an issue. But I'm going to try and bait him over towards this zone, and then we can't get thrown at. And one of the cool things you can do is you can do plunge attacks on him, and it does a lot of damage and it stuns him, and you can kill him with like 2 or 3 plunge attacks. I came up here to show you that this can be done, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go down and engage with him. So he has nearly 5k. This guy feels really beefy. He also likes to leash too, which makes him kind of awkward. But when he's leashing, you can get a cheeky attack in, so feel free to do so. But his combo is dynamic based on where you are. And what you're looking for this right here. After this, it's your turn. Or you're looking for the one where he hits the ground. And then if you stun him, it continues to be your turn as well. So here he's going to go whack, he's going to go slam, and then you can hit him after that. However, if he does the red one, it's bait and you'll lose out. But if you're at the right distance, he doesn't do the red one. And understanding those two differences makes this guy a little bit more ambiguous than you'd like. But once you get it, you'll be okay. And then if you're hitting him hard enough like I am, you can just kind of perma-stun him. But I ran out of stamina then and I had to run away. So just be careful. And then here he comes again. There's the spin. There's the twirl. After this, it's our turn. And then we can hopefully... Oh, I missed. Can nearly kill him. Spacing is really important in this game, and it's really powerful against this monster. If you stand near him, you're going to have to do a lot of dodging and a lot of parrying, but if you're at the right space, you don't need to. And that's why I want to show this as much as I can, so people can understand the spacing of these games and what you can do. I got a comment on a video recently, and I don't know if it was referring to this, but I did think it was quite funny, because I'd never heard it before. It was somebody mentioning space cheese in Elden Ring. And my brain immediately goes to, they make cheese in space? Because that's how stupid I am. However, I think what he means is by intentionally being really far away from the bosses and then they can't hit you and whatnot. And I don't know if that's a way of throwing shade at my playstyle in Souls games, because I've definitely moved away from iframes and moved towards spacing, because I find it to be more enjoyable. But the idea that spacing an enemy to be safe and punish accordingly is cheese, I find to be really funny. But this is what's so fascinating about talking about games and discussing it and doing it, you know, not in a controversial manner or in an inflammatory manner to get everybody on Reddit with a stick up their ass, rabble-rousing, but actually really being open to hear another perspective and then bumping heads in an intellectual way over ideals is fascinating. Because everyone has their own values of what they think the cheese is and what they think the trash is and what they think is respectable and not. And all of it's illusory. At the end of the day, if it's in the game, use it. It was designed to be used. That's what game design is. You can build your own like metas and your own philosophical morality afterwards. By the way, guys, this merchant is the most important merchant in the game. Because he sells infinite throwables, and these throwables that I'm going to buy here are the best throwables in the game. The shot put, by far, so goddamn good. And for anybody wondering how I play when it comes to the resource and the economy, I sell everything. Absolutely everything I can I'm going to sell if I need to. The only reason I'm saving the quartz and I'm saving the Legion accessory is because I want to upgrade the puppet string, and I'm going to get a couple of abilities for my character because I'm used to doing it. I'm of the belief system right now that the P organ really doesn't make much of a difference. I feel like the way the game is balanced, it doesn't change it enough to warrant always being your first port of call. That might just be me. You know, you might do something specific and it really helps you out, and that's awesome, but coming as a player that's going to be playing this game more so unleveled than anything else, I really just don't see that much of a difference. And I'd love to know what the stats are on that stuff and really crunch the numbers, because the game gives you nothing, absolutely nothing. All the numbers I have from the internet, and you just never know the validity. You could be just smoking meth. But the Black Rabbit Brotherhood, the first gank fight of the game, starting with the Big Brother. Unfortunately, I only know the Big Brother's HP value because when you one-hit him with the trainer, he dies and the fight's over. So this guy has 8,813 HP, which is a lot. But it's not too bad. However, this guy has some notoriously shitty hitboxes. His overhead slam is the size of Cloud's Buster Sword, but it doesn't look like it until it whacks you, because it does something that I call teleportation. And there aren't many moves in this game that do it, but the ones that do, boy do they suck. They suck so hard. They really do. And would you imagine a company recently claiming to have the best co-op in Souls-likes built an entire game around that shitty teleportation device? They made everyone teleport. Your roll teleports, your attacks teleport, the enemies teleport. It's just baffling. But this is the sister. She is the fastest and the weakest of the family. And there's a couple of things that you can punish this. This one's a really easy punish. I'm going to recommend you only punish with one attack or a backstab if you know what you're doing. The reason I say this is because these are technically NPCs. NPCs in these games cheat. They input read, they have iframes, they have dashes for days, they have perfect spacing. They will do whatever they can to get away from your attacks and they will make it look effortless. And the more you engage with it, the more they do it. So if you only do one or two things, you will stay the safest. And this one here, right there, you can charge a full R2 and that will always say it. Same with this. You can backstab it or you can attack it. Did you see how she spun around there when I missed the backstab? That was really risky. And be very careful of that red move because it's super fast. But once she goes down, we get to fight the big guy again. And there are 3 moves we're going to be punishing. We're going to punish anything that ends in an overhead. Outside of the one where we want this right here. This move here. 3 slashes into a fury move. That is our guaranteed punish. The second one is the jump. The jump is really handy to punish. And then the final one is the spin. Those are the ones we're going to try and get at least 1 or 2 attacks in. However, because this fight is quite long and it's easy to take damage, we're going to be a little defensive. We're going to be as defensive as we need to be to guarantee our safety. Early on in the video when I was ranting and raving, I didn't mention that we picked up the bone carving sword. It is the big cleaver that I'm using right now. The combination I have on it here, the salamander handle, the bone cleaver, this is by far the best utility in the game for me. This weapon is fast, it has high damage, and it has big range. There is almost no boss in this game I cannot kill with this weapon and cannot kill comfortably. We're going to use this for the majority of the game. The only reason we're going to swap off it is for a little bit higher damage because I don't want to be hitting the bosses for an eternity. That is it. That is how good this is. We got this handle in the factory at the beginning of the game, and we got this blade on that rooftop in the previous area of Malum. Those 2 things together on the right build, unstoppable. Completely unstoppable. And I cannot recommend it highly enough, and I see no one using it. And of course, everyone's going to have their own setups, because there's lots of great setups in this game, but this one is the one that I think is just so disgusting. And now we have this brother, and I wanted to show you the power of the throwables. So, I used all 3 of the shot puts there to damage him, and now I can get rid of him really quickly. The reason I did that, guys, is because he has a grapple. He has a puppet string just like you do, and the puppet string hurts. And it has tons of range and it's really fast and it's super annoying and he can do it from off screen. So, he's the most dangerous of all the brothers, get rid of him quick. And the best way to do it is to throw a bunch of shit at him. I only did 3 cannonballs to show you that they're really good and remind myself. You could bring 2 stacks of different items and get rid of him completely. Hell, you could bring all your items and get rid of everybody this way. That's how good the throwables are. And the man we just met is the man who sells them. And now it's just a case of waiting for the move we need and punishing accordingly. This boss recovers really quickly and he's got lots of range. That's the reason why I'm being so tentative here. You are never in trouble at this range outside of like 2 instances. And then once he stops, it's your turn, hit him and get out. Later on, when you have some quartz upgrades, if you have the upgrade that gives you more damage for having a fully repaired weapon, I would recommend using the downtime to get into the habit of repairing. I always repair as much as I can on the fights when I can get the benefit, because it really does give you a benefit. It's quite nice. I'd like to see it buffed personally, because, you know, it costs quartz. You think it'd be a bit more rewarding, but that damage you get on certain setups is really high.